Which, you know what? Here's the thing. Let's do this. So we're going to start it tonight. And I'm going to do this. Before I go into anything, I'm going to do two things. And one, I'm going to start with the stream from December. I'm going to start with the segment for Carnage as he initiated the perception system. And we're going to do just a clip of that. It's going to be like 2-3 minutes long. And then I'm going to do the highlight of the perception system video that Pantheon put out. So that VR put out. And that's going to highlight basically a lot of the same information over, but in a more kind of clear, precise way. So we're going to watch those two clips, and it's going to be a total of like 5-6 minutes of video footage. And then from there, we're going to talk about it. So before we get going on that, so the perception system. Let's see if I can read this without messing up. I'm terrible at reading in public, so let's see if we can do this. One of the most profound things about Pantheon is how we are designing the game from the ground up so that the environment truly matters. By the way, I love that fact. I absolutely love that fact. They keep bringing it up. They keep talking about it, how PvE means not just player versus NPC, but player versus environment, truly versus environment. I love that. We want players to care about the world they are in and why things are the way they are. When you think of MMOs, when is the last time you discovered the meaning or history or the secrets of a person, a place, or an event without being told by a text box? It's fair. It's true. What if we conceived a way to bring players back to exploring because they were compelled by what they see in front of them? I don't have to do this. It's kind of blurring together. There we go. Not because of blinking lights that tell them to go there. In Pantheon, wizards will be able to perceive things that warriors cannot. Through prayer, a cleric can gain insight into an area or a creature that a rogue can never know. Through the perception system, Pantheon will redefine how the game world becomes known and how players work together to progress. So, don't mind my bad reading because that's my weakest point in life. But I think basically what this tells us is exactly what we're going to see in both the Carnage clip as well as the perception clip that VR put out. There's a little more detail in both of those than what's here, but it's kind of the same concept of Pantheon's not going to give you the guided tour of where to go and what to see. Pantheon's going to say, we need you to go find this cave. And within this cave, there's something crazy. Have fun. And you're sitting there in the middle of an open field going, whoa, where's the cave at? Let's go find it. So that alone is huge. It's something that in other games, it really bothers me when I have the dotted line, the big flashing arrow, things like that. So I'm a very, very strong advocate for this. I love it. So we're going to talk about it a little tonight. So let's go ahead and let's start with the Go Carnage clip here. So again, it's starting at 52 minutes into the. Actually, let's do this. So we'll post it in here just so everybody has it. So this is from Pantheon Rise of the Fallen doing the December stream 2016 when they did the first. It was kind of the first remake update of all the graphics and everything that were showing off the stream. It was phenomenal. I loved it. If you haven't seen it, please go back and watch it. It's awesome. But we're just gonna take a small clip. So this is starting at 52 minutes into the stream here. So 3-hour stream. This is 52 minutes in. And we're gonna take a small clip of it. It's probably going to be about 2 or 3 minutes. We're going to watch that, and then we'll go over into the perception system clip that VR had, and from there we'll talk a little bit more about Pantheon perception system. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to that and mute up, and we'll watch it together and enjoy.
And other factions within the game world. So it's not limited to factions. Alignment will also play a role, and we'll see some of that in the perception system, where not only are your decisions and actions affecting your faction alignment with other denizens of the world, but you'll also be progressing along a moral alignment as well. And so you may have some NPCs that respond to faction, you may have some that respond to alignment, and you may have some that respond to both. And so our hopes is that it'll create a pretty deep system of interaction between NPCs and the other denizens of the world as your character takes shape throughout the game.
So we're coming across a pretty interesting part right now. Sorry to cut you off there, Chris. We still have a lot to go through, so just kind of need to move forward here. So this is going to be the perception system, which is kind of unique to Pantheon. Well, not kind of, it is unique to Pantheon. Could you
Yeah, I was just about to introduce that.
Okay,
We've come into a village here, and what a lot of people are wondering about our perception system. This is our attempt to design a system that allows for rich quest and story content inside of an open, non-linear game world. We are not using quest hubs and exclamation points and mini-maps with flashing lights to create our quests and our story content. We've designed a system which takes the environment itself and makes it the quest giver in a sense. What that means practically is, as you're running throughout the game world, if you are someone who is pursuing the perception system, if you become a keeper, as we're calling it, you will be able to progress in your ability to perceive certain things in the environment around you using two skills, primarily a passive skill called Insight and an active skill called Investigate. What we're about to see here is, in the midst of Kilson's dance moves, just beyond Kilson, we're going to run down this path, and you're going to see an example where the passive Insight skill is going to alert you to something around you that you can either embrace your intuition or you can disregard it. And in this case, I'm going to ask Ko to embrace his intuition, and we'll get to see some of the very, very early aspects of the perception system in action. So let's go ahead and run.
Embrace. My brother has wandered off again. His mind is sick. I'm afraid he's going to get hurt. I don't even know what he's wearing. He must have left early this morning or even last night. No one will help me look for him anymore. He's been wandering off for years now, ever since he lost his best friend in that cursed cave. Feels like we're being watched. Dun, dun, dun.
Awesome. So you've progressed through that dialogue. You've run along the path. You hear Anne crying. It draws your attention. You approach, and then you get a perception ping where you're able to either embrace or disregard. You embraced your perception. See, she seemed troubled. That opens up the dialogue, and now you've read through the dialogue. You've finished. You got another perception ping. Feels like we're being watched. But other than that, it leaves the player with a sense maybe of what to do next. She mentioned something about a cursed cave, so we'll need to see if we can find something like that as we keep moving forward. But that's a very simple example of the perception system at work. There was no quest hub gathering. We're simply running around through an environment. Sometimes it may be that you see something interesting in the distance, and just by right of going there and being in proximity of a POI, you'll be able, through the perception system, to learn more about it or uncover a storyline. Sometimes NPCs will reach out to you, flag you down, or draw your attention, as we just saw. Sometimes it'll be an active thing where it's up to you really to put pieces together and use your investigate skill in certain areas to uncover the next piece of the story or of the puzzle, so to speak. So as we develop this more and more, our hope is that the power of this system, the immersiveness of this system, will become more clear. And it's one of the things.
Oh, very cool.
So we're going to head back down this path. We're in Avendir's Pass right now. This is the zone connected to the human starting area of Throne Fast. When we get to a few key points here, you'll be able to see just some of the scope again of this zone. And just like with Wild's End, we're mowing through these mobs here. These are very low-level creatures. But
So I'll let them keep running because I just want to kind of show how far they have to go down this path before they actually get to the cave system that they were going to. Now, of course, they know exactly where they're going. They know what cave they're looking for. They know what they're trying to accomplish here, like where they're trying to go. But if you're looking around, for me, first thing I'm thinking, if I haven't run by this cave before, the first thing that I'm gonna think is, well, a cave is probably gonna be on the outskirts of the zone, right? I mean, it's going to be somewhere on the edge of a wall or against a mountainside or something like that. So for me, there's a possibility that I could never even go this way looking for the cave, you know. But they seem to, they know where they're at, they know where they're going, so they run right down this path, you know, to the mouth of the cave, which you see right here. So this is the entrance to the cave. So we'll stop right there. But so for this particular clip, what we're looking at, for the perception system, one of the things that I want to point out is going to be pointed out again in the clip that VR put out, and we're going to watch that real quick as well. This might be a little bit loud, so my voice might not be nearly as loud as what's about to come over the speakers. I apologize, but hopefully it's not too bad. Again, guys, I'm going to play this one, and after that, we'll kick off the conversation about perception, as far as what we know, and you know, maybe go into just a little theory crafting as well. I'm going to try to keep it pretty short tonight. I want it to be pretty precise, pretty clear. But at the same time, I know how these go. A lot of questions can be asked and raised up, and I enjoy answering those questions, or at least attempting to. So, you know, it can get, you know, a little lengthy at times, but we'll try to keep it as short as we can. So, again, we'll switch it over here. This is a 2-minute video by VR. I think they did a really good job at leaving us just enough to be interested for more. So, again, enjoy, guys, and we'll be right back.
In Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, there will be many ways to interact with your environment and to obtain quests. One form of quest in the game are perception storylines. For this type of quest, there will be no characters with little exclamation points over their head, and no oddly convenient trails of light leading you down a set path to your objective. Instead, perception storylines encourage players to explore their surroundings and take part in the stories they tell. Should you choose to take part in the perception system and become a keeper, your character may notice certain things that others do not, such as a lady crying on the side of the road. As a player, you then have a choice. You can comfort her, or you can ignore her and go along your way. Should you choose to console her, she will tell you a story about her brother disappearing into the night. She also briefly mentions a cursed cave he may have gone to. Where's this cave? Why is it cursed? That's up to you to find out during your adventures. There are no waypoints to follow, no magical map to lead the way. This is one mystery you'll have to solve for yourself. Thanks to your perception skill, your character was able to obtain a new storyline for you and your group. Should you keep an eye out while exploring, you may even come across that cursed cave. What awaits inside is considerable danger, significant rewards, and most importantly, the answers to your questions. Perception storylines are truly meant to appeal to those players who love lore and story. Your level of perception is based on several factors, such as your character's race, class, their standing with certain factions, and their skill both in insight and investigation. A wizard may be able to see something that a warrior cannot. Through prayer, a cleric may be able to gain insight into an area or enemy that a rogue may never know. Perception is all about telling a story that the player has a choice to take part in or not. However, perception does not only reveal information about the world around you, but also about you yourself. The choices you make through the perception system will help determine your character's alignment. Actions have consequences, and your character is not immune. And that is the main point of perception: choice. The choice to take part or not. The choices made within and how they affect everything around you.
All right. Oh man, so where to get started? So I just want to show this. So again, the perception system is something that really we don't have a lot of information on. I'm going to drag this over as well. So this is the Wikipedia page by Pantheon. This is the official Wikipedia page. This right here, this is your overview of the perception system to date. Not a lot. It's fine though. It really is. The perception system in my mind is one of those things where I'm excited about it because I think there's a lot of possibilities with it. A lot of things that we don't know, and that's a good thing to me. I really like that. So what do we know? Well, a few things. When it comes to perception, we know one, that it's going to be a choice to whether you want to become a keeper or not. Meaning perception is not going to be something that's just given to you. you're probably going to have to work at it. Different classes are going to have different perceptions. Meaning, as a cleric, I may have a different perception than a rogue. However, one of the things that has been said is, while in a group with said character, and if they choose that perception, or if they have a perception, I, as a group member, will be able to partake in that perception with them. So I think that's a really cool thing. It really encourages, me to have a sort of diverse group. Not just pick, if we have 2 or 3 particular classes that really seem to be strong together, maybe I don't want to have those classes particularly while exploring, while doing certain things, because I want to potentially hit a perception that I might not hit without them. Things like that. That's what interests me, when I start thinking about possibilities, what it really is going to entail, what's going to come about it, where it's going to lead us to, and things like that. So again, it's not something that's guaranteed. You're not going to have it from day one. You're going to have to work on it. It's something that you're going to have to work on. You have both a passive skill and a active skill. An active skill, I believe it's called insight. And I wrote it down, and then I cleaned my desk and got rid of the paper. I apologize. It's been a long day. It's Thanksgiving, guys. Work with me on this. But the active skill called insight. Insight is going to be one of those skills, from what I can gather, that you are actually going to have to work on to get leveled up. Much like any other crafting skill, any other weapon skill, parry, armor, channeling, magic, things like that. All these skills, potentially, you're going to have to work on. They're not going to be given to you. You're going to have to continuously work on them, get better at them. Becoming a keeper, working on the perception system, is something, again, that's going to be like a skill. You're going to need to do this. Now, one of the questions that was raised to me the other day was, well, if it's going to become so vital that everyone needs it, then is it really a choice? For example, if I, as a cleric, have to have a perception of, let's say, 150, I have to have a perception skill level of 150 to activate a certain quest for my cleric class, a quest that I would normally never have access to, but I have to have it for my particular class to gain a ability, to gain an item, whatever it may or may not be. Well, if that's the case, then potentially, it's kind of like a mandatory skill. It's not really an option at that point. One of the things that I caught during the videos was it is an option. It's not mandatory. It's something that we can choose whether we want to be a keeper or not. So with that thought in mind, I know they've mentioned as well, you can potentially pick up a quest line or a perception line, or, again, perception is more or less just going to be what activates or triggers you to go on a certain quest. But from my understanding, potentially, if I wasn't a keeper, potentially I might be able to still complete said quest if I knew exactly where to go and what I was doing. So maybe that's how they're getting around you don't have to be a keeper. You can choose whether to be one or not. Now, would it be easier for me as a cleric to have the perception myself and be able to read the context and then work that quest myself based off of my own perception skill? Absolutely. I would much rather do that, in fact, as a player. But some players might not want to do that. Some players might just want to go online and read about a certain perception or quest line that triggered and find out how to get to the end of it, find out how to get what they need to get through that quest line. From my understanding, potentially, that's going to be possible. And then again, it may not be. We're not sure at this point in time. So again, I'm not sure how they're going to do the whole it's not mandatory aspect of it, but I'm very, very curious to see how it works. If we have the ability to go online and read perception line and kind of just jump into it where we know we can, then potentially it makes it where down the road we don't necessarily need the perception skill that we need to engage these quest lines. And then on the flip side, if they make it to where I have to have a certain perception skill level to activate a quest that I potentially need, let's say the Cleric Epic quest. Let's say I have to have the perception skill at a certain level so I can engage certain parts and pieces of that quest line. Maybe I have to read a certain scroll. Maybe I have to find a certain key to unlock a certain chest to pull out of a book of light so that I can read this book of light. And I have to have the perception, the insight skill to be able to find this key hidden under a pile of rocks. If that's the case, well then it's a forced upon skill. You have to learn it. There's no question, there's no if and buts about it. Now you can say, yeah, you don't have to learn it. Maybe you don't want that epic quest item. That's true. That's true. But I think for most of your players out there, they want to really be able to do the maximum the game allows them to do. They want to really explore, really just immerse themselves in the game and do as much as they humanly possibly can, which means that if I had to have a perception system at a certain level to engage or find that key off the insight skill, then potentially I have to have it. It becomes a mandatory skill at that point, a required skill, especially for, you know, some of your higher tier progression raiders or players that really want to try to push the boundaries and progression limits. Then, you know, it becomes something they have to do. So this is a lot of speculation. This is a lot of thought, a lot of just me kind of mulling over the information that we have, which isn't a lot. You've seen the 2 videos, the clips. That's pretty much the best information that we have out there. We have the clip from VR going over perception, showing us that there is a passive skill, there is an active skill, showing us that we do have to make a decision whether to help or whether to just turn our backs and walk away. They also made it very clear that, again, that perception system is open to potentially you not having to do it, meaning becoming a keeper is optional. It's not required. It's an optional additional step in your journey long-termness, you know, throughout Pantheon. So there's a lot of questions that for me raise up, well, how is that going to happen? How is it going to work? How is it all going to come together? And a lot of thoughts I have on it. But overall, I will say a few of the things that I'm most excited about. For one, when it comes to the perception system, I personally can't stand the quest hub markers, the shining exclamation points, the giant symbols on my map showing me where to go, what to do. You know, I don't like that type of quest line. I'm personally thankful that Pantheon is avoiding that and getting away from it. I want to be forced to explore. I want to have to put some thought into it. I want to have to actually potentially just stumble across things because that's what I enjoy doing. I like, you know, tripping over something and going, oh, what was that? And turning around and seeing that, oh, this is an epic staff that I need to pick up, and it's amazing. You know, I like just kind of running into things and then just going with it throughout the night. So for me, I like the way they're going with this. I really do. But at the same time, I do have a lot of questions, and so does everybody else. And I think for me, the thing that I'm most thankful for in Pantheon's way of presenting this is the fact that they haven't given us a lot of information. I'm actually very, very pleased with this and very happy with this. Because one, it's leaving me with a lot of speculations, it's leaving me with a lot of assumptions, and it's a lot of, well, how does that actually going to work? This is something that I'm looking forward to finding out while playing the game. I don't want to read about it myself. I don't want to go and read 3 pages, 3 books, and find out all the different quests that are out there and how they work and how the perception system works in and out, all the different factors of it, all the different possibilities. I really like the fact that they're leaving this open to us and they're really going to allow us to explore this new system, this new enhancement to my, you know, personal quest line or questing, and they're going to allow us to find it out while we're in the game. So, all right, Day, let's see what you got here. Me too, but I'm in favor of having when you start a new character. The first thing. So okay. So Day, I'll say it like this. I don't mind that, but here's the thing. I think in EverQuest they do it right now. In fact, if you start a new character in EverQuest, it basically starts you out and you're face to face with that character. Like you're literally face to face with that character. And it's like in the text it says "Hell so and so" to engage them or something like that. It tells you you need to do this to start your quest. It doesn't have an exclamation mark. It doesn't have anything like that. And this is EverQuest today, and I might be wrong. I've only played like 10 minutes of it, but I believe it has the little starter, tutorial thing you can go through. And at the tutorial version of it, you literally start right in front of the guy, and it's like, hey, hail him, hit H, and then it'll kick off the conversation. And from the conversation, you can then go into what you need to do. Now, do I think that the first quest line that you get should be as difficult as that one, where you have to go out and about and find some hidden, obscure cave somewhere and explore it? Absolutely not. I think the first quest line that you do should probably be kind of a break-in, kind of a get you started, get you rolling, give you a little more guidance, a little more direction to kind of get you off and going. Now, with that said, though, if they do what I think they're going to plan on doing, which this goes into the tutorial, the starter guide type thing. EverQuest had one, WoW had one. Like every MMO that I can think of has pretty much had one of these, where they give you kind of the first few levels or few things, or almost a tutorial of what to do. Again, if they go through that, where they're really teaching you like all the little pieces, ins and outs, if they do something like that, then I'm not sure that they're going to need to do as much detail on the quest line. It might just be, you go from here, you go from here, you go from here. You do a few little starter things to really get you going. You're basically reading a little bit of context, going from this person to this person, reading what this does, reading what that does, reading what your inventory does, reading what your group tab does, reading, kind of gives you an overview of what the game is and what you're going to be looking at doing to get you started. And then from there, they kind of set you off and let you do what you need to do. I think Pantheon has made it clear that they're looking to do something like that, a small tutorial. They might not be, but from my understanding, I believe they are. And again, that's to help those non-old school veterans out, those non-veteran MMOers out, and getting started in Pantheon. Maybe a brief tutorial, something you can opt in or out of potentially, just like in EverQuest, where you can go to the tutorial area, or you can just kind of go off into the game and just get going. Some people like that. Some people like to just get off of the game and get going. They don't want a tutorial. They don't want their handheld. They don't want any information. They just want to figure it out as they go. Other people, they enjoy the simplistic tutorial, the very, very brief, here's how you sit down. Here's how you meditate. Just little bitty details of brief understanding of how the game works at a very fundamental level. And from there, they like to, progress through it. It's not going to be, let me hold your hand and explain everything in detail to you. It's going to be more of a, here's the fundamentals that you need to know to be successful in the game as you start your adventure. All right, Art, let me read what you got here. Is that the only way to find quests? Will there be a regular quest giver as well? From my understanding, yes and yes. What do I mean by that? Is that the only way to find quests? Perception, I believe technically perception may be the only way to find a quest. Like if you to actively find something. But I also believe there's going to be regular quest givers, meaning there might be somebody in town that needs something done, and you might be able to go to them on a regular basis and give them certain items that build credibility towards the city, towards the faction, things like that. So there might be some faction-based quests. And again, from my understanding, I could be completely wrong in this, but from my understanding, and I don't know if you played EverQuest or anything like that, but I think of when you had to turn in Crushbone belts, where it really wasn't a quest per se, but it was more like, hey, if you have Crushbone belts, turn them into this guy. And there wasn't a big exclamation mark over his head. You just kind of had to stumble across this by talking to him. But you might stumble across somebody in the city that goes, hey, if you bring me rat skulls from the sewers of this city, showing me that you're helping clean the city up. If you bring me 30 rat skulls, I'll increase your faction by 10. Something like that. I think that things like that may be part of the game. Yeah, we'll say may be part of the game, and that'll be kind of like your regular quest givers, I guess you could say. But I don't think there's going to be, if you're thinking of regular quest givers as like a WoW quest giver where you have the giant exclamation mark over their head and they give you like a daily every day to go do, and it tells you like, I need you to go kill 15 bears and 30 rats and bring X many hides back to me, and then I'll give you the same quest tomorrow or something like that. I'm not sure if they're going to have stuff like that. I don't think you're going to see exclamation marks or any indication over anybody's head. I think it's going to be one of those things where you figure it out as you go, and you might know who that regular quest giver is. There's not going to be any giant flashing light over their head, but you'll know who it is. You'll know where to go and how to get to them and how to find them. You'll know what they're looking for, and you'll know what you're able to turn in to increase your faction or something like that within the city. Or if it's something else outside the city and it does something else for you, they might have something of that nature as well. That's just me putting together little bits and pieces of things as I've gone through streams and as I've read through forums and things like that. There's nothing that's very clear and precise on that I've seen. So that's just my understanding and what I've done, and like what I put in my head as possibilities within the game. But again, I don't see there being a giant exclamation mark or arrow or question mark or anything over anyone's head in the game, period. All I see is you finding people, you walking up to random NPCs and hailing them, and as you hail them, as you hit H, it starts a conversation. That conversation may lead into oh, I'm a royal guard. I need to have my breastplate that's been cracked for 3 years fixed. If you could fix my breastplate and come back to me with a new breastplate, then I would be very grateful. And then maybe they give you an old, rusty, broken breastplate, and you have to go find a way to fix it and bring it back to them or something like that. Again, it may be something as simple as that, or it may be something like we saw in the example there, where it's, hey, I've lost my brother. He's in a cave out in the middle of nowhere, and I have no idea when he left or where he's at, but I think he might be near a cave. Hey, let me know if you can find it. And if you do, see what's in it. And then, in fact, and let me see if I can find this real quick. One of the things, I can't remember. I meant to look this up, so this is going to be kind of on the fly, guys. But I believe as they go through the cave, I forgot where it's at. There's a part where they had to go back because oh, this might be it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. All right, we're gonna watch this piece right here. So I believe, and again, it's been a while since I've seen this. I'm going off a lot of memory here. So Ko is gonna run down here. He's gonna engage another piece of this quest line, another NPC. And then he's going to have to go find a key. And I believe the key, of course, is one of those things where without the insight skill may not have been found. So we'll watch it real quick, and I might be wrong. So let me see if I can get proven wrong real quick.
We're going to check out that big room here in a second.
I think I can answer this one, but just in case. The question was, is there friendly fire or any type of aiming system for casters? And I believe the answer is no to both of those. I think it's a target-based system without any friendly fire. But
right now, yeah,
feel free to
correct.
correct. Yeah, okay.
95%. There may be some extremely powerful AoE, area of effect spells that could affect other people in your group that you'll want to use judiciously and make sure your group is positioned correctly. But that's kind of the exception, not the rule.
No, wait, I'm not like the rest. I don't want to hurt you.
So for the sake of just our progression here, we're moving through this in a pretty linear fashion, moving right to the next objectives because we want to show the progression of the quest and unfold more of the area more quickly. So we're here now at the who was lost down into this dungeon and receiving the next portion of the quest, where we're also going to be receiving a key. That's going to open up a new wing to this dungeon and lead us to our first boss fight, which we're excited to show you guys.
So hopefully if you received your key, you can go ahead and just put it in your general inventory for now, and it'll work fine.
Done and done. So this brings up an interesting question. If we had not talked to the girl that was crying and gone through this quest line, we wouldn't have a key to get to certain parts of this dungeon?
You cut off there, Chris, just as you were.
Yes. No, that's correct. That's correct. That's how we've gotten to this point so far. So that's right.
Excellent. Another
Also
quick side. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No. You go ahead.
I was gonna say just a quick side question. Are there any plans for voice acting?
Minimal. It's a major resource cost for us, and so we have where we can do it well and do it consistently.
Love the flaming sword look. Yeah, I love it too. And this is actually funny that you bring that up because this is before they did the major rehaul on the graphics. And now, well, let me phrase that. Before they did the latest major rehaul on the graphics. This was the first time they showed us the new graphics and how things were looking. They showed a few of the new character model or the new race models and things. And this was a phenomenal stream. Had a lot of people get really excited about this one. This was December 2016. First time Carnage got on here and streamed. First time they showed off some of the new races and animations and things like that they have. So this was kind of a huge step in getting things looking the way they needed to look. Before this stream, it was quite interesting. That it looked very much like old school EQ. So I'm going to let this run because I'm pretty sure that they go down there here and they eventually find a key that's hidden behind some rocks or something like that. But again, as we heard there, so like Ko was pointing out, oh, well, maybe they're not. Maybe it's going to go into the boss fight. Well, you know what? I'll let it run in the background. So as we talk here, I'll let that run in the background. I'll get to that in a minute, Art. You should be able to. So, again, one of the things that we heard there was that Carnage was asking the question, if we had not engaged the woman in the town, would we have found the key that was engaged there? Now, to me, and I'm just going to be honest with you, the answer that we received there didn't really lead me to believe that you might not have received a key. Because, yes, it led us... So, the way that it was answered was, yes, the quest that we got in the city led us down to this cave, which led us to here. And it kind of encouraged us to get to where we are. I didn't hear the answer of, absolutely, if you did not talk to her, you would have not been able to get here at all. Again, when I talk about the keeper being an optional piece, for me, if you were not a keeper, did not have the passive skill to activate that quest line, if no one in your group had the ability to activate that quest line within the town of the young lady that was crying, then potentially, if this is an optional, if it truly is an optional feature, potentially you could have ran into that room, into that door, and kind of picked up on the perception line or quest line from there, received a key to go into here, but not really known all the back history, all the story behind it, the why you're there, what's really going on type factor. I could be wrong, but yeah. So that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm kind of feeling like maybe a possibility. And I'd be very curious. I'm very, very curious to see how that turns out again, because if they're saying the keeper, if they're saying becoming a keeper is not mandatory, it's optional, it's something that, if you want to do, you can, then for me, if we didn't have somebody in our group that had that perception skill, potentially what they're saying is we may never be able to engage this encounter. So that would mean that it's a pretty almost mandatory skill for anybody that really wants to explore the game to its fullest. So we'll see how that turns out. Let's see here. So I want to answer the question for Art. I really hope I can play this game on 8 gigs of RAM. Yes, you should be able to. Man, I wish I still had it. So at one point in time, I put together a list of requirements, and I put together the what Brad's requirements were on his PC when he was building this. He was building this like on an i5, if I'm not mistaken, with I think Brad said at 6 gigs of RAM is what he recommended. At least 6 gigs of RAM was his recommendation. But again, 8 gigs, 12 gigs, 60. Yeah, you should be able to run this on anything. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was above 6. And I'll go back and try to find that. It was a conversation that happened in the forums. So it was a pretty long time ago as well. But Brad commented on it. And it was like a post back in like early 2016, maybe even 2015, that Brad had posted. So here, I'll show y'all this, because I think some of y'all might like it. This. So we'll stop this real quick. Oh, well, I gotta sign in. So I don't want to show too much, because I do have VIP access, so I don't want to show too much, but I will show this. So in the Pantheon forums, if I scroll down here, you'll see news and announcements. So this is under, just like you hit Pantheon forums here if you're signed in, news and announcements. You'll see, you can look for Brad's name, but you'll see Brad's name here. If you click on Brad's name, this is just for anybody that's out there looking through the forums and really wants to dig into things. If you click on Brad's name or any one of the VR guys' names, you can go through all the information they posted here over time. Now, I'm just going to say it like this. A lot of this information is actually really, really good. It's really, really good because it's coming from the source of truth. So if you're really looking into Pantheon and you want to go diving, basically dumpster diving through all of Brad or Kilson's or anybody in VR's comments, I recommend start with Brad. Start with Brad, go through Brad, and go through Brad's post here, and you can look through things. Unfortunately, the capabilities here are pretty limited. I don't want to sit here and go through all this for tonight. But I believe early 2016, 2015, Brad made a post about the his setup, what he used to build and test on, and what his recommendations were for what you needed. Now, that was early in the start of it, so yeah, and that works. That works for any of them. Kilson, Brad, any of them, any of the VR guys. If you really want to go dig in on the forums and find things out, my recommendation is start there. And I'll be honest with you, if you have a question as well, I know that most of you know who Baz Grooms is. So I love Baz because Baz will respond back. I think Baz has every single post and official thing that was ever posted out there saved off, so that he'll come back pretty quickly with a list of information or highlighted links or something like that of who said what when they said it. Baz is pretty on top of the forums. I love that guy. But yeah, that's the way to go digging in. Do you guys think it'll run okay on a GeForce GTX 960? I think so. Again, I wish I had the requirements that Brad was running his on. Brad was building his on an older i5. And he had a lower end graphics card. Now, they have done a lot of updates. They have done a ton of new, for example, you saw what we just saw there. And then you go here and the graphics are somewhat the same, but they're continuing to add things on here. Optimization is very, very critical for them. They're making sure that they're doing all they can to make the system requirements as low as humanly possible, but they still want to give us the best graphics they can possibly give us. So, there's a balance there. They have to balance out. But I believe you should be able to run this on a 960 perfectly. My opinion from what I know. I won't know for a fact until we get in there and test. I'll be testing on a 1060 myself. But I would assume, based off of feedback that we give during PA, we should know what requirements are going to be. We should know pretty soon through pre-alpha testing what you're going to need and what you're not, or what you're going to need at a bare minimum to run the game at the best settings. I think through testing with pre-alpha and alpha, probably those two phases will really iron out a lot of the needs for the game. And then from there, we'll go forward and see what we can do. Optimization, I think, is one of the best for an HP Omen. Nice. Okay. Well, so here's the thing with that art. The reason why Brad and team are so critical on optimization. This is why they're so critical on it. When Vanguard came out, it was pushing the limits of PCs. There's a lot of issues with it, but one of the bigger issues that it had with it was a lot of people could not play it because of the requirements for the PC that it had. It took a lot, and it limited the player base. On top of everything else, that factor alone was a huge negative impact on the amount of players that could play the game, because they didn't have the PC or the funds to buy the PC to actually play the game. And that's a huge deal when it comes to today's world, where most of your gamers out there want to be running on like a 1060, 1070, 1080, maybe even a 1080 Ti or Titan or whatever. They want to have the best. Yeah, sure. You got some that have the best. But I mean, realistically, not everybody has, and not everybody can. And I think VR has done a very, very good job on realizing that, understanding that, and hopefully going forward, they're going to continue to work on ensuring that even people with those low end PCs, and I don't mean like like early i3 generation with like some crazy low end graphics card. I mean a reasonable setup. I think VR is doing a pretty good job at considering the average player and the cost that an average PC, and doing that. Is this alpha gameplay? No, so this is the latest stream they did. I was just showing it in the background while I was talking. But this is the latest stream they did. Super. So this is about a month before pre-alpha opens up gameplay, and they're just showing off kind of the making of the city, a little bit of how the cities look, how they're laid out, what really goes into making them, and things like that. So, but it's looking good, I think. Most MMOs threw stuff into the game, do not optimize the final stages. So, yeah. Well, again, they had a lot of issues with other games when it came to releasing them, and the system requirements were just too intense. It took too much. So, I think that they've learned a lot from past mistakes, and I'm really happy to see that they're changing the ways that they did things in the past to benefit us in the future for Pantheon. So all right. Again, we wanted to start this conversation out about the perception system. I have a quick intro about it, really kind of go over it a little bit. I don't want to make this too long. I wanted to make it about 30 minutes. And again, we're about an hour in. So I'm going to try to do this, guys. I'm going to cut it off for the perception system stream. I'm going to switch over to playing some games with some of my friends here. But I am always open to answering questions about Pantheon. I'm always open to giving my feedback, my opinion. I love talking about Pantheon, and I have some sort of weird obsession with it. It brings back childhood memories for me. So, this is one of those games where for the first time in many, many, many years, I have not been excited like this about a game. And because of my excitement, I'm feeling a little bit like a kid again, where I can't contain myself. I just have to talk about it, have to express, my feelings towards the game, what I like, what I don't like. And I really don't, I don't want to say I don't care, but I really don't care about other people's opinions, because mine feel so strongly towards this game. So again, if anybody has any questions, concerns, wants to bring an opinion to the table to talk about in future streams, please let me know. Please do hit me up in multiple ways: Discord, Twitter, on my stream, whatever. Find a way to get to me and let me know. I'm gonna post this over on YouTube. But again, thanks everybody for showing up. I am definitely here to answer any questions and share my opinion, and I'll be here for as long as I can see in the future. So thanks again, guys, and I really appreciate it. So I'm gonna answer that